Hello, my name is Kim Bushaw. I'm one of the Family Science Specialists from the North Dakota State University Extension Service. Thank you for joining me in the last of this four-part series on engaging adult learners. In this step, we will look at a number of different types of difficult participants and some possible ways to help everyone feel comfortable in the classroom. First, we will review the 5 principles of adult learners. Here are the 5 principles of adult learners. We've explained these in depth in the Step 1 video. This series focuses on Principle 4, Application and Action, also called engagement. People are people are people. We are all different and we all react in different ways, sometimes on the same day. We may sit quietly and thoughtfully through a class or training, taking notes and contemplating how we'll incorporate the material into our life or work. Or we may take on a whole different persona if we are with friends, if the topic is too emotional, or if we've had a rough day. This is probably true for most people. In any given class, we may have a variety of learners coming from many different situations. In this step, we will discuss some of the difficult types of participants you may encounter in your work. Sarcasm, anger, or talking unkindly about others never is acceptable as the class leader. In all cases, meeting everyone with professionalism and patience is vital. Participant 1 does not want to be here. We probably all have had times when we attended a class or training because we had to, not because we wanted to. When this happened to me, I was aware that being required by my job to be CPR certified was not the instructor's fault, but the instructor was the one in the front of the room acting cheery. So she got my scowl and bad attitude. She was a pro, however, and started the class by giving us the agenda for the day and then saying, "So, this is a mandated training for most of you. I'm sorry that you have to be here to be certified. For my part, I promise not to call on you if you don't raise your hand. You are in charge of your own learning. To those folks who are here to enjoy the session as well as learn, here we go." I must confess, when she broached it that way, I too wanted to have fun while I learned. I put away the scowl and joined the group wholeheartedly. She did what Dolores Kern tells us to do. Work hard for the 80% of the class who wants to be there to learn. Ignore the ignorable behavior of others, and most likely they'll eventually come around. At least not challenge us. Let's face it, once in a while, this will happen with participants in our programs. Perhaps they are friend, spouse, school, partner, or mother ordered to take our class. It may be that they are court ordered or otherwise mandated to attend. In any case, your best option probably is to acknowledge that some people are not wanting to be here today. We'll honor that and try not to add to your frustration. As for the rest of us, and then go on with your introduction. Participant type number 2 has an opinion on everything and shares it. Adult learners come with a lot of experience. Some participants seem to want to share all of their experience in the very first hour. If you've ever been in a class or training where the same person comments every time, you know how deeply you'd like to have the person in charge stop that behavior. Yes, adults learn from one another in class, but that is not the same as hearing the same person talk about his or her experiences and burn up all the class time with his or her views. Some suggestions by Dolores Kern in her book Working with Parents includes: don't make eye contact with the talker and ignore his or her raised hand. Refer back to the class rule about taking turns talking. Ask the group, does anyone else want to comment on this? Nearly every group has one such person as this, so planning ahead will reduce the chances that you'll have a problem. Let's review some of the tools we've already talked about in our previous steps. One is to post your group rules and include something about sharing the floor in your rules. Use the 2-cent idea. Everyone gets to share twice before anyone can share a third time. Offer activities that include short writing assignments. The talker gets to put his or her thoughts on paper and share them on the board instead of verbally. The bucket of hand lotion on the slide represents the talking piece in this lesson. Explain and use a talking piece from the very first introduction so the talkers learn to wait their turn. And as a side note, the hand lotion is a great talking piece, especially for our North Dakota winters. Hotel-sized bottles, samples, and those unwanted scents that you never use at home are all put to good use on participants' dry hands. Put several small bottles if you're having your participants do small group work, so each table gets one. Another one would be to make a supply of sticky notes available at the start of class. Let the participants know they're welcome to put related topics on the parking lot via sticky notes. If the talker starts to talk about something unrelated to the lesson, ask that person to put it on a sticky note on the parking lot and assure him that you will come back to it if there's time. And finally, utilize walkabouts. These are wonderful ways for people to connect even before class begins. They offer a vehicle to participants to share their views and experiences up front. Put out new questions whenever you are introducing a new segment of the lesson or need to physically move around the room, or when you're serving a food break and wish to have something for people to do when they're finished, but others are still eating. And finally, breaking people into small groups and pairs to discuss a question allows the talker to talk without using class time. Be sure to reassign partners from time to time so you don't wear out the talker's work partner the very first week. A participant who is habitually negative can drain the energy from a group. People also tend to shy away from others who are negative. Again, try to set the stage for success even before your participants come through the door. Ground rules can include something such as, we can disagree with each other and still be cordial to one another, or phrase your comments in a positive fashion. A talking piece should keep the negative comments down to only the negative person's turn. Make paper and pencil available for anyone who would like to write his or her answers first to see if they are positive responses. Start your program with everyone sharing one challenge and one victory from his or her week. Try to tie this to the topic if possible. Do the challenge part first, then the victory. This will put the learners in a positive state of mind going into the topic. If you're working with parents, practice rephrasing negative statements into positive statements as part of your lesson. For example, change "don't be such a slob" to "please hang your coat in the closet." If a negative participant throws out thoughtless answers, turn to the group and say, "There's one answer. Do you all agree?" If a person dismisses every solution with "that won't work" or "I tried that already," he or she really is not looking for solutions. If it goes on week after week, suggest that this may not be the best place for him or her to get help. In private, ask where else he or she might look for solutions, or suggest that he or she may have to live with his or her current situation. Don't dwell on the negative. Like participant 1, who does not wish to be at the session, the person who responds negatively should not be fed attention for it. Participant 4, the class clown, or just a wiggly person. Oftentimes the class clown is not as funny as he or she may think. This person may use humor to hide from expressing emotions. Include group rules around sarcasm and appropriate humor at the first class to minimize the clowning. Answers in writing, partnering, and small group work, as well as using a talking piece, can also help quell the clowning. If the person is just action-oriented, ask him or her to pour the coffee, pass the handouts, and do any other physically active job that gives that person positive, appropriate attention. Bringing table toys such as squeeze balls, Play-Doh, or puzzles that go with the content may also help point the energy in the right direction. You are the group leader, and with that title comes the responsibility of keeping your class on time, engaging, educational, and of course, civil. You will have times when being sure that all learners feel respected is a daunting task. If something starts to go awry, try this 4-step intervention from Facilitation at a Glance, your pocket guide to facilitation. Decide if you really need to intervene. Take a deep breath and consider if this is a reoccurring problem, if anyone needs your help, or if this will go away on its own. Then, describe what you see. For example, I'm noticing that we seem to be off our planned topic. Another option is to tell people the impact of their action. For example, we may not have time to finish our planned activities. Don't use this if you think someone will be offended by it. And fourth, ask participants, what do we need to get back on track? Asking is preferred when possible because adults like to follow their own ideas, not the ideas of others. If needed, however, tell them, please limit yourself to one idea that pertains to our topic and then pass the talking piece to the next topic so we can hear everyone's opinion on this issue. Your group will be glad you did. Contemplate these two questions. What was the one best thing I did today to help my students learn? And what can I do next time to help them learn even better? Then, before you put your notes away, make useful changes and notes to prepare the lesson to be even better next time. Many excellent resources on teaching adults are available. Here are some of my favorites. They are all short reads and very practical. If you don't have access to the books, the Effective Adult Learning and Effective Presentation papers are online, and they are wonderful too. Look them up and use them often. Working with adults has many more components. Look up the references from the previous slide and enjoy all they have to offer. Commit to use one new engaging activity with each of your lessons. Add something for those folks who like to move and work with their hands, and for those who learn best when they see the information in written form. And don't forget those who like to hear the information. Keep in mind that many ways are available to encourage and inspire learners. Have fun finding your favorites and listening to your learners to discover their favorites too.